The Redgrass Games Wet Palette is designed to fit two types of painters, the hobby painter and the studio painter. The Hobbyist Palette is the painter's palette, which is easy to fit on many different surfaces and bring with you when you're traveling to your local game store or gaming club, or even to a friend's place. The Studio XL palette is designed for professional painters and enthusiasts and gives a huge surface to both hold paint dots and mixing paint together. Inside each palette box you'll find a complete set of 2 hydration foam pads, 50 hydration paper sheets, a wavy accessory for mixing inks and washes, as well as of course your palette and a strap band to secure the lid to your palette. Now let's take a look at how to set up your palette. The first step in setting up your wet palette is to remove the foam pad from its plastic wrapping. The second step is to soak the foam sheet in water. You can also do this under the kitchen tap. Squeeze the water out of the foam sheet so that it's almost dry. Place the foam pad into the wet palette base and pour water on the foam pad. The amount of water varies depending on the size of your palette. For the painter's palette, you pour 7 centiliters or 2.4 ounces, and for the Studio XL palette, you pour 15 centiliters or 5 ounces of water. To apply the paper, you set it down in one end and confidently smooth the sheet out using your other hand. You'll find some buckling in the paper at first, which is completely natural. Just smooth those out using your fingers. The paper is now set and we're ready to put down some paint and get to the fun part. When applying a base coat on your model, the goal is always to achieve a smooth surface to work on. The key here is to make sure that the paint consistency isn't too thick. Using a Redgrass Games wet palette is exactly what you need to ensure that the paint stays smooth throughout your painting sessions. Keeping your paint smooth helps to prevent lumps and textures on your models, which would have a greater chance of happening from using regular palettes such as plastic paper. Using thin coats further helps to prevent details from clogging from your applications. Moving on to those details, it's important to be able to have control over the paint consistency. The Redgrass hydration technology allows you, the painter, to have a greater control over that consistency. For example, when I apply a layer of paint to soften this black base coat, I don't have to worry about the paint turning uncontrollably wet and run into the recesses of the bionic leg. The paint will keep a nice solid consistency for my entire painting session. Don't forget to add a bit of water every now and then to make sure the foam pad is properly saturated. Edge highlights are always tricky, not only because sometimes you have to paint straight lines or move around a curve, but also because when the paint consistency isn't cooperating with you. It can either be too thick or too thin, but when you get it right, you have won half the battle. Using this wet palette will help to keep your paint the desired consistency for hours, allowing you to finish the whole paint job before the paint loses its perfect consistency. I can keep mixing brighter, darker, colder, warmer colors into the same pool of paint here and work the certain areas without feeling stressed in a race against time. When you need to glaze areas of your model, you can easily mix glazes directly on your palette. This won't keep the paint usable for as long as regular paint, but will allow you to control the amount of glaze that you load your brush with, a key trick to successful glazing. The wavy accessory is the perfect tool for your contrast paints, washes, and more. It allows you to mix a large pool of paint using mediums and water. Here I've mixed a leather colored paint with some medium to apply to the wraps on this model for a quick paint job. Once you're done with the mix in your wavy accessory, the slick surface makes for easy cleanup. But if some of the paint has started to dry in there, you can use some water or airbrush cleaner with your rag to get the tougher messes off.